When you picture a camel, you probably think of this incredibly tough, resilient survivor, right? I mean, they're perfectly built for the harshest places on Earth. But what if I told you that for the first few hours of its life, this ship of the desert is actually one of the most vulnerable creatures you can imagine? Okay, let's get into it.
So here's the big question we're going to tackle. How can an animal that's destined for such a rugged life start out with basically no ability to fight off disease? Well, the answer is this fascinating little quirk of biology and a really clever scientific solution.
All right, let's start at square one. A newborn camel calf. It looks healthy, it looks strong, it's often up on its feet within an hour of being born. But on a biological level, it's living on borrowed time. Its immune system is, and this is the key, dangerously empty. That's right, nothing. It has no antibodies. Those are the tiny soldiers that fight off all the nasty bacteria and viruses. So this means that from its very first breath, it's totally exposed to a world of threats with no way to protect itself. So, why? Why is it born like this?
Well, the reason it's so vulnerable isn't some kind of mistake. It's actually a feature of how camels develop. It all comes down to a very specific, very thick barrier between the mother and her unborn calf.
It's because of something called the Epitheliochorial placenta. Now, that sounds super complex, I know, but just think of it like a 10-layer security door. It does an amazing job protecting the developing calf from all sorts of things, but it's so thick that it also blocks the mother's protective antibodies, her IgG, from ever getting across. So the calf is basically born in a sterile bubble, but that bubble pops the second it's born.
And this chart just lays it all out perfectly. On the left, that's the newborn calf's antibody level. So you can see it's practically zero. On the right, that's the safe level it needs to get to in order to survive. This massive gap represents a huge race against time. If that gap isn't closed and closed fast, the consequences are, well, they're really severe.
Without that protection, the calf is just a wide-open target for some really devastating infections. We're talking about things like septicaemia, that's a deadly blood infection, pneumonia, which attacks the lungs, and severe diarrhea and enteritis, which can dehydrate and kill a calf in just a matter of hours. Any one of these can be fatal.
So how in the world do you solve this? I mean, nature's plan is colostrum, the mother's first milk, which is packed with antibodies. But sometimes that's not enough, or the calf can't get it in time. This is where science steps in with a pretty incredible solution. It's called hyperimmune plasma.
Okay, so the process actually starts by creating what you could call super donor camels. These adult camels are vaccinated against all the big threats a newborn is likely to face. This sends their immune systems into overdrive, and they start producing this powerful, super concentrated cocktail of antibodies for every single one of these diseases.
And this is way more than just a simple blood donation. First, blood is collected from our super donors. Then it gets spun in a centrifuge at really high speed. This separates the heavy red blood cells from this lightweight golden liquid called plasma. And this plasma, which is now jam-packed with those life-saving antibodies, is carefully tested for purity and then frozen, creating a super shield that's ready to go whenever it's needed.
So we've got our frozen liquid gold. Now for the most important part, getting this protection out of the lab and into that vulnerable newborn calf, and doing it fast. The plasma is given intravenously, which means it goes directly into the calf's bloodstream. And this is so important. It completely bypasses the digestive system and delivers a full, potent dose of antibodies exactly where they need to be, giving the calf immediate protection. It's kind of like giving it a borrowed, supercharged immune system.
And this isn't just guesswork. There is a very specific target. The whole goal is to get the IgG level in the calf's blood to above 9 milligrams per milliliter. That's the magic number. It's the scientifically proven threshold that means the difference between being vulnerable and being protected.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The research totally confirms this. Getting to that specific level provides the tough, robust protection the calf needs to guard against all of those common and deadly newborn diseases. It's a proven shield. So let's just look at the huge transformation here. Before the plasma, the calf has practically no immunity and is at an extremely high risk of infection. Afterwards, its antibody levels are way above that protective line. Its immune system is fortified, and it's actually ready to face the world. It's a total game changer. When you step back and look at the big picture, what we're really seeing is this perfect partnership between biology and human ingenuity. It's a great story of understanding a natural vulnerability and then developing a really precise tool to overcome it. Ultimately, that's what this hyperimmune plasma really is. It's a bridge. It's spanning that incredibly dangerous,
temporary gap in the newborn camel's defenses. It doesn't replace what nature does, it supports it, making sure the calf survives long enough for its own immune system to finally kick in and take over.
It's just a powerful example of how we can use science to give nature a helping hand, to protect the most vulnerable among us. And it really makes you wonder, what other biological barriers, maybe in animals or even in ourselves, could we figure out how to overcome next?